Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, no nation is free of security challenges, but these challenges vary from one country to the other. Threats or challenges to a country's security may range from low-level civil disorder, larger-scale violence, armed insurgency, or terrorism. Now, these threats may be directed against citizens or the organs and infrastructure of state itself. Foreign powers may also act as a threat to a country's security by either committing or sponsoring terrorism or rebellion without actually declaring war. The greatest and predominant security challenge in Nigeria today is the protracted insurgency in parts of northern Nigeria, with the Jama'atu Ahli Sunnah Lidawati Wal Jihad, otherwise known as Boko Haram, as the harbinger of terror in Nigeria. The sect has attacked markets, shopping malls, government institutions, schools, mosques and churches, as well as military installations through suicide bombing and the use of improvised explosive devices, IEDs. It seeks to erode the credibility and legitimacy of the government by making it appear incapable of protecting lives and property of citizens. The federal government's strategy for dealing with the Boko Haram threat is based on a multidimensional approach involving all elements of national power. While security operations dominate media attention, the government has also embarked on other activities spanning across legal reforms, de-radicalization programs, and strategic public communications. The federal government, in conjunction with state governments, is also making efforts to tackle the issue of unemployment in the affected states, as joblessness has been identified as one of the drivers fueling terrorism in the country. Now, Boko Haram is reportedly linked to the Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, Al-Shabaab of Somalia, the Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, and it enjoys the support of Malian terrorist groups. Now, this makes it difficult to surmount as quickly as possible. But what is the way forward? And so many questions are being asked. For instance, how true is the allegation that some foreign powers have a hand in this? Is this part of what's been termed an orchestrated plan to dismember Nigeria by 2015? And also questions about the deployment of technology to expose or track down these people who carry out these acts against humanity. These are some of the issues we'll be raising tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. But first, let's get to see this background report by Muhammad Abdul Qadri.
Since independence in 1960, terrorism has been unknown in the nation's security landscape until 2009, when the capital city of Abuja recorded its first dose of attack. Since then, not less than 5 episodes have been reported, including 2 in Nyanya and the most recent one around the Barnes area in Abuja. Instances of such bombings occurred in Kano, Jos, Kaduna, Bauchi, and more regularly in the northeastern states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states. The scenario gave birth to the declaration of state of emergency from 14th May 2013 till date. The lingering internal insurgency is not isolated from other crimes, such as cattle rustling in Zamfara, Kaduna, Benue, and Nasarawa states, as well as kidnapping of over 200 Chibok girls, which has galvanized what can be described as international sympathy and synergy to bring back the girls.
These terrorists must bring back our girls, and they have no choice, because I'm quite pleased that the whole world is singing the same message, that they must bring back our girls.
The security situation in Nigeria is characterized by organized crimes, including killings by unknown gunmen operating in different parts of the country, especially in parts of Plateau and southern Kaduna around Kagoro and Kaura, as well as Sanga local government areas of the state.
What is happening in those areas is conflict between farmers first and foremost, there's inter-ethnic conflict between one ethnic group and another.
The proliferation of small and light weapons, gun running, and criminal enterprise in high and low caliber weapons by faceless, criminally minded groups and gangs are not helping security deficit of the nation.
The truth remains that the military is winning the war and the nation shall surely triumph in this fight.
Unless we restructure our police alongside the federal arrangement we have, we're going to continue to have problems with our security.
While kidnapping is prevalent in the Niger Delta areas and southeast, theft has become daily occurrences in the nation's major cities, and the travelers plying Nigerian roads are not safe from the men of the underworld.
Again, it's all inclusive. We have the various local governments, the state government, they need to get involved in building parks.
The worrisome security situation in the country, accounting for unquantifiable loss of lives and property, destruction of national monuments and infrastructure, are impacting negatively on the nation's economy.
We must build with other nations what Bonds called a global architecture of cooperation to solve the problem that no one country can solve.
The federal government has adopted various measures and deployed security operatives to tackle the nation's security challenges, yet the trends of criminality continued to spread to the nooks and crannies of the country.
Globally now, the issue is about cooperation, and this is a proof of that. Besides, terrorism has become a global issue, a cross-border crime that calls for the cooperation of all. So
some observers blame the nation's security challenges on globalization, porous borders, poverty, unemployment, religious, social and ethnic factors, as well as politically motivated insecurity towards the 2015 elections.
In my own opinion, the majority of people now understand that they have to work for peace.
On the way forward, Nigerians are clamoring for the total overhaul of the nation's security architecture, adequate funding of the security operators, creation of employment opportunities, poverty reduction, policing of the nation's borders, and multilateral cooperations to tackle transborder crimes. In Abuja, Muhammad Abdel Kadri, NTA News.
All right, that sets the tone for tonight's discussion. First, let me introduce you to our guests here tonight. I'd like to welcome to NTA Tuesday Live, Honorable Umar Kareto Lawan. He's a member of the National Conference, and he's been so many things, but we'll just quickly run through just a few of them. He's former member of the National Assembly, having been former National Treasurer of the People's Democratic Party, and the UNCP, and as well as State Chairman Borno. Of course, is Secretary of the National Elders Council, GDM. Would like to welcome you to this program.
Thank you very much.
All right. Let me also welcome tonight retired Assistant Inspector General of Police Felix Ogbaudu, who is a legal practitioner. Thanks for being here tonight. Welcome you.
It's my pleasure. Good evening, viewers.
Let me also welcome to this program Lancelot Ayaya. Is a security analyst and is chairman, National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
We're also joined by EREKOSIMA Onengie, who is the president and founder of the Foundation for Peace and Non-Violence in Nigeria. Good to have you join us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And also let me welcome Dr. Badon, who is a security consultant. He's director LIMCB International Consultants. Welcome to NTA Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, at the appropriate time during the program, the phone lines will be open, and that means you can get to join in the discussion in the studio. You can call in with your questions and comments on the issues at stake. Our guests here will respond appropriately to such issues as you might raise. You may also join in by email, sending us an email, of course. It's tuesdaylive@nta.ng, or follow us on Twitter, and that's at tuesdaylive_NTA. Let me also quickly mention that if you call in and you do get through at that time, just do us the favor of turning down the volume of your TV set. That way we'll get to hear you clearly and we'll avoid the hurlback or the echo. You may also send in text messages. So welcome once again to NTA Tuesday Live, and let's begin to look at this issue that just won't go away. And it's a sad state of affairs here when a country is reeling under an insurgency, and especially for Nigeria, that never at any point in time thought it would find itself in this situation. And so it's like this is a new phenomenon in our national life, and we're not getting through it. And just how do we begin to approach this insurgency?
Let me talk about why I know best the Northeast, particularly Borno State, where I came from. You know, the current political dispensation, that is from 99 to date, people didn't care. Our leaders, those who ruled that state for the last 15 years, they have put education behind. Instead, they didn't care about education, and in the last 15 years, government did not spend 1% of its earnings on education, especially in my part of the state, the 10 local governments where I came from, the central district where I came from. From 99 to date, if you see any primary school being built, it was built in the monies of the federal government. So there was no school. So the whole 15 years of the life of that particular area had been disconnected from the rest of the world. That's what created the insurgency, and that's what created criminals and beasts who do not care about lives of people, who kill even their own parents. I have never seen something like that. It's like a fairy tale. So lack of education is number one cause of the insurgency in the northeast part of the country. Because I could remember throughout the about 5 years of which I was in government, Adamawa State was the state that was taking number one. We have always been trailing behind. There was no schools at all. So all those boys who grew up, who was at the age of 7 to plus 15, 22, some kind of creatures that have grown up into the system because there was no care for them.
All right. So you tie this with a breakdown in the education system as well as lack of good governance. So
lack of good governance. Because if you could remember this, Ngozi, the coordinating minister of the economy, has said that within the 15 years, the state has collected about 1.35 trillion, 1,350 billion from the federal coffers. And if you go to that state, in the whole state, you could not get anything worth 50 billion standing. The monies have all found their ways into pockets of people who I cannot tell.
Okay, we'll come back to you later on, but let's hear from the retired AIG. How do we begin to approach this? From what angle? Some people have talked about political undertones and so many other things.
Well, let me start by saying that the point the last speaker made is quite valid. Ignorance is part of the problem. Of course, when people are not educated, they become ignorant. And they become willing tools in the hands of people that are prepared to make trouble. I recall some months back, I was informed that trucks were moved from somewhere around Sokoto, Kebbi State, within the northwest geopolitical zone of youths and dumped in motor parks in Maiduguri. These young men had no relations in Maiduguri. They had no homes there. Of course, they had no jobs doing. So they were willing tools in the hands of these insurgents. But again, having said that, let me approach tackling the problem from the security perspective. One major fact is very clear, that one, the entire northeast geopolitical zone is grossly under-policed. I'm not referring to police force specifically, in terms of the number of security men on ground to contain the level of insurgents we are facing today. Look at the Ekiti election we had last weekend. I was smiling when some people said, oh, the security was even too much. The state was militarized. That is the kind of thing I wish to see replicated in the Northeast geopolitical zone.
Do we have the numbers to do that?
We are coming to that. We don't have the numbers. But again, we have a number of youths who have finished school who have no jobs. So what stops us from recruiting more hands into the military and the police services? So that we increase the number. Again, I felt so sad when I read one of the papers, I think it was Daily Trust. Soldiers from Madagali military base in Adamawa State went on an operation to encounter insurgents. And in the process, the APC they took there packed up, which meant that the insurgents had superior firepower over and above them. Because one, they were using outdated equipment, not maintained, not replaced, and the soldiers had to withdraw. So the point is, we need to move in more men, recruit more men, train them properly, okay? Empower them in terms of military hardware that you need to give to them. Take, for instance, what stops us from having armor-plated choppers, for instance, to be deployed on area surveillance? That's why some of us are taken aback. The US, the UK, some other countries have volunteered to come to assist us. But till date, we've not been able to locate where these Chibok girls are. We've not even been able to locate where these guys are operating from, the Boko Haram insurgents. So one, we need to train more men, we need to recruit more men, give them proper training, empower them, motivate them. Then I also want to emphasize security education. Awareness, public awareness. Look at what a 10-year-old boy did for the entire country in Kano. A 10-year-old child saw a red car laden with explosives and went to report to the police. That was how that bloodshed would have averted. So we are talking about power of observation. God gave us our eyes to see, our ears to hear. We should be very observant wherever we are. Whatever information we have, good enough, all the security agencies have thrown their numbers to the public. You know? So whatever information we have, please don't keep it to yourself. This attitude of sitting on the fence does not pay. If it is a stunt, like I've always said, never can tell whose turn is going to be tomorrow. That is why we must all come together and collectively fight insurgency. Then again, I want to say, if you ask me, treat security operatives preferentially. Okay? Make the job attractive so that people will be what they want to lay their lives for this nation. As I'm talking to you now, if you tell any soldier or any policeman, oh, get ready, you're going to be deployed to the Northeast geopolitical zone, you've actually killed him. A friend of mine whose son just came back from there, a young officer, he was telling me, Daddy, it's only God that saved us. They slept in channels and what have you, dug up areas, and bullets just flying over them. No noise, no food for days. When the soldiers had withdrawn, they crept out and took to the hills. I mean, that's embarrassing. And let me also say too, we must stop this culture of remunerating some people for doing little or nothing and paying those that are doing so much so little. Let me say that again.
Right.
In this country, there are a lot of people that are doing next to nothing, so little, and they earn so much. The security agencies are doing so much, they're putting their lives on the line and earn so little. They need to be encouraged.
Okay.
They need to be encouraged.
These are issues we'll take up as we go on. And,
yes.
But let's go to another security analyst, Lancelot Ayanya. Give us your perspective on this.
I am immediately inclined to agree with the last two speakers on a number of points. But first, let me pause to offer condolences and sympathies to the victims again of today's unfortunate incident in Maiduguri, where explosive concealed in bags as charcoal went off and claimed so many lives, injuring so many.
There's a danger that because these things occur with such regularity or frequency, let us not become numb as a nation to the fact that every time a life is lost, all of us are diminished. We must retain our humanity, because precisely what the terrorists seek to do is to alter the social, cultural construct of society as we know it, to make us insensitive to one another, to drive a wedge between us. And that is where I'd like to take my point of nexus with what the previous two speakers have said. We couldn't agree less that lack of investment in education over years has brought us here. At some point, that may have been okay. You could get away with it. At some point, some persons have argued that it paid the political elite in some parts of the country to, if you like, not emphasize education as a means of exercising political power in an environment where access to power is more often than not a product of influenced by knowledge. But again, that is history. That's talking about how we got here. The AIG retired as very well addressed the issue of how we need to move forward. A virile security system has three components, and he has spoken to the three of them: people, platforms, and processes. Now, when we speak about people, very easy to think that we're speaking about the security operatives themselves alone. But like you said, we'll come to those points in specific terms, but it includes us as a people. We keep repeating this point, and we have to keep repeating this point every time we have opportunity. At the end of the day, it is not just the force of arms that will defeat this insurgency, or indeed any insurgency in the world. Nations have gone to war, and it is not always the most the strongest nation in terms of military-industrial complex that has won. It is rather the nation that has the strongest will, that is unanimous. So I would like to open my comments tonight by saying that as Nigerians, we need to realize, A, that we are at war, B, that all of us need to own this war, and that point he has made very well. It is not us versus them. It is not the responsibility of the government. It's not the responsibility. Every human being has the responsibility to keep themselves alive. So even in the context of that selfish consideration, we need to band together. And because none of us is as strong as all of us, we need to leverage our strength. We must build and strengthen and deepen consensus, our sense of community. We must strengthen it, because what this insurgency thrived on initially was that you found a lot of division. A segment of the elite or the populace, out of some measure of misinformation or incomplete information, tended to rationalize what was going on. Initially, because it started out looking like maybe the usual narrative of ethno-religious conflict in Nigeria. And just before you could get a grasp of it, we realized it was much bigger than that. So tonight, I want to anchor my submissions, and subsequently as they come, on the need for us as a nation to strengthen the bonds of our commonality.
Right, and so taking it from there, you mentioned really that really the complete solution may not lie in the use of force and arms. That's just a component of it, and that's where we bring in Onegi and say there's also the argument of of persuasion. You begin to wonder what makes one human being determine to try to exterminate another human being based on some false ideology or whatever.
Well, the issue is very simple. I really want to disagree with some of what my elders have said. I really have to disagree, most especially on the security part of it. The security problem is that they are overfunded.
Really?
Yes, I will explain it.
Okay.
I am happy when I met my senior brother, my father here. When I started my foundation in 2008, he was the commissioner of police in Port Harcourt. The first success I had was with him. When I went to Ateketom, when he was declared wanted on the 3rd of January 2008, I called the commissioner of police. I said, I'm with Ateketom. Please, I want you to talk to him. That was my first victory. When Ateke talked to him, Ateke said sorry, because he was like, why would you kill my policeman? Your boys came and shot at my policemen. And I think I said, look, this is what has happened. The governor has attacked me, attacked my village. Okoshiri is not a creek, it's a town. Okoshiri is one of the biggest towns in Okrika. The governor has attacked Okoshiri, and nobody heard of it before December. So my boys got angry and they attacked. So my first victory was reconciling Ateke with the police. I am saying this because I want us to go back to history. I have told this country we're in a generational change. If we're talking about equipping the police and the army, let them tell us what was their contribution in the Niger Delta that we had peace. What did the police do? Was it by force? Was it by so much money? No. We went to the creeks. We talked to the people. They are our brothers.
Okay. You have used the example of the Niger Delta. You went to the creeks and you talked to the people.
Yes.
Who are you talking to here with Boko Haram?
That's what I'm saying. So let us go forward. I will tell you the answer. I will tell you the way forward. They say experience is the best teacher. By the grace of God, I know I'm experienced in this state. I am destined to be in this generation. I will give you the answer. The answer is love. It's not education. It's not poverty. Our past leaders forgot anything about love. We never loved ourselves. If we get back to love, if we get back to sincere love, there will be education.
All right.
There will be. So what I'm trying to say is this. I will tell you the solution of this problem. I will tell you the way forward that nobody can resist. In the Niger Delta, they were saying, look, if you bring out the boys, what about their sponsors? Were they able to come up? They were